Hello there. We're in London again today, area called Liverpool Street, where Liverpool Street Station is, the big railway station. This is the street itself, and I've come here specifically to draw the Bishopsgate Institute, which is a kind of a cultural centre. It's got a library in it, it's got adult education sections in it, and it's been around since 1895, I think, so it's got a good bit of history to it, and it's a very pretty arts and crafts style of building. And I actually went here during the summer, as you can tell by the films on the buses, specifically to draw the building, and it was midweek. It was the wrong time of week, and I couldn't get myself a good view of it without all the traffic and the buses. I got up high on some steps opposite, which is further away than I would have liked, and gave it a go. And I kind of saw this as being an establishing sketch, something to just kind of, I don't know, to knock on the door of the institute and say, okay, you know, I will come back, I'll do you again on a Sunday or something when it's a bit quieter and I can actually get in front of you without the traffic. But sometimes when you go to a place it's not quite the right time, sometimes I think it's worth just bashing out something quick, you know, in sketch terms, just to kind of, as I say, just kind of acknowledge the fact that you have started, even if you won't finish again for another year or two. Now I'm using the thin Clairefontaine Kraft paper, Kraft with a K they spell it, which is basically like a brown wrapping paper, very thin, very kind of cheap fitting in a good way, so it doesn't feel precious, it doesn't feel as if you have to do something of any quality, so it's good for sort of very fast, very loose, very casual sketching. And after a few kind of preliminary sort of set up guidelines, just to give myself a sense of where the vanishing points are, I'm going in with a very unusual pen for me, which is a Uniball Eye. It's a 0.7, and it's the kind of pen you'd find in the office. It's a rollable, so it's, you know, it's for making notes really. And I thought I'd give it a go because I actually use one of these in the office, and it's a very nice smooth pen. I mean, you know what a rollable is like. It kind of gives no resistance, so whichever way you move it, it sort of flows, but it still feels, because it has that metal ball in it, it still feels kind of sort of tough, as if you could kind of abuse it a bit. You could go really hard and it would be fine with that. So it felt like a practical and interesting and fluidy pen that could be worth giving a go. It's quite fine. And so ultimately I kind of got to a point where I started to fight this drawing. I kept going back in with different sort of thicker pens, but I think there's something about this kind of rollable style of pen, which of course is incredibly cheap, very, you know, disposable in a good way. So it could be kind of a useful little pen to try a few more times, I think, to see where its limitations are, because at the moment it did a decent job for me. Now, after the line drawing, I'm just going to be going in with just marker pens because I want this to be a quick sketch. I'm really just exploring colours and tones and variations and just that sense of what the building wants from me. I think ultimately what it might want is paint. I think it might be an oil painting kind of building, but sometimes it's nice to get to know a building as quickly as possible, you know, just to kind of feel it. And obviously a sketch is the easiest way of doing that, and a sort of the acrylic markers are the easiest way of then throwing down some colour and seeing what kind of colours seem to work. Bearing in mind that rarely do I try and match the colour of what I'm drawing, so I am looking to explore here. I mean, there's moments where this drawing works in terms of that kind of teal blue and the kind of orangey yellow, although it could be a bit more orange than yellow, I think, in hindsight. I think there's an interesting kind of colour combination there that speaks of the street in my eye. So I think there's something in that which I could come back to. But ultimately, I do, as is often the case, push this drawing a little bit further to see where the breaking point is. And I do find the breaking point. I do find the point where I no longer like the drawing anymore. So this is why this didn't go out onto the YouTube channel 3 or 4 months ago when I drew it, simply because it just felt a bit, yeah, you know, it didn't end up where I wanted it to end. And so there was a sort of a disappointment, but the disappointment isn't in the building, isn't in the day, it's in me really. I just hadn't got myself set up correctly, and I wasn't there at the right time. You can see we're using the acrylic pens here to kind of explore different marks, sort of the dot, the dash, the line, the block, just to see what seems to work as a combination. And because of my slight frustration with the traffic, I'm actually drawing the traffic in because it's forever in the way, forever stopping me seeing what I need to draw. So I'm starting to respond in a way of trying to give that the energy of the drawing, and I think it kind of loses some sense of what the drawing is about then as soon as you put in the traffic. It's one of those things you often hear when people are drawing. It's that twist of, do you include, for example, people in your drawing? Because if you do include people, they tend to become the focal point, they become the narrative of what the drawing's about, and most people try and avoid them as they simply sort of push the sketch you've done into something else, you know, some kind of story about what that person is experiencing, and no one's really into that. Well, at least I'm not into that. So anyway, finished piece. As I say, I've knocked on the door, as it were, of the Bishopsgate Institute. I will return, and this is quite a nice way of just marking my card and starting the thinking process. I'm thinking still. I'm thinking about specifically where to be next time, what location I need, and what time of day. Well, thank you very much if you stayed to the end. Bless you.